Welcome back to Tales by WZ. Today's story is about a man who cashed out his retirement to fund his fiancée's dream boutique, only to watch her unveil a co-founder who was really her new boyfriend on opening day. As you listen, think about the exact moment you would have stopped protecting someone who clearly was not protecting you. My fiancé said, "Meet my co-founder," I replied, "then sign these papers." Then I walked up during her opening speech, dissolved the LLC on the spot, terminated the lease, and drove straight to my lawyer while her co-founder tried to play owner. I'm 38. I work in IT security. I make about $120,000 a year, not rich, but comfortable. I've been building my 401k since I was 23. 3 years ago, I met my fiancée at a networking event. She was 35, working retail management, and she had a real passion for fashion. Not the fake kind. The kind where she could talk about fabrics, fit, and trends like she was born for it. Her dream was to open a women's boutique, curated pieces, clean branding, that Instagram-style look. I fell hard. And when you fall hard, you start thinking love is the same thing as trust. When we got engaged last year, my 401k was around $185,000. She had a business plan and supplier contacts, but she needed capital. Banks turned her down. Her credit score was mid-600s. Not a disaster, but not good enough for a startup loan. She was crushed. I wanted to be the guy who helped her build something real. So I made a decision that looked generous and felt loving in the moment. I drained my 401k. The early withdrawal hit me hard. After taxes and penalties, I walked away with about $130,000. Now, I wasn't completely reckless. My brother is an attorney and he told me, if you do this, do it clean. So we structured it properly. We formed an LLC. I was the primary investor and managing member. I owned 70%. She owned 30% as the operating partner. Everything was documented, signed, clear. She cried when I showed her the paperwork. She told me I was making her dream come true. That should have felt like a win. But looking back, that was the first moment I should have asked myself a simple question. If this is our dream, why am I the only one taking the risk? We found a space in a trendy shopping district, about 1,800 square feet. Rent was $4,500 a month. I signed the lease under the LLC as managing member. Over the next 8 months, I watched my retirement become shelves, racks, lighting fixtures, a point-of-sale system, and inventory boxes stacked to the ceiling. She handled the creative side. I handled finances, contracts, and payments. I didn't mind that division. I work in security. I like structure. I like receipts. I like having a paper trail. And thank God I did. The grand opening was scheduled for a Saturday. She'd been working non-stop the week before. Late nights. Short replies, always busy at the store. I told myself it was stress. It was her baby, right? I took the day off work. I wore a nice suit. I showed up early to help with final prep. That's when I met him. He was about 29, gym bro type, designer everything, and he was arranging merchandise like he owned the place. Like he belonged there. My fiancé smiled and said, "Babe, this is my co-founder. He's been helping with creative direction and vendor relationships. Isn't he amazing?" Co-founder. That word hit my ears like a warning bell. He shook my hand and said, "Yeah, man, we've been putting in serious work together. This place is going to blow up." She looked proud. "We make such a good team." I stood there smiling because that's what you do when you are trying to make sense of something that makes no sense. This is one of those moments where your gut speaks quietly, and people ignore it because it does not sound polite. I said, "Co-founder is interesting." "I don't remember approving any new partners." She waved it off. "Oh, it's just a title. He's just been so helpful." Helpful. That word can hide a lot. The doors opened. About 60 people showed up. Her friends, local influencers, potential customers, champagne and appetizers, music playing. The whole thing looked like a success from the outside. I stayed near the back, watching her work the room, and I watched him work it with her. They moved together like they'd practiced. The way she touched his arm, the way they finished each other's sentences. Inside jokes that didn't include me. They looked like a couple pretending not to look like a couple. Then I saw it. When she thought nobody was looking, he kissed her, not a friendly peck, a real kiss, and she kissed him back. There are moments where you feel your brain go cold, not sad, not panicked, just clear. I pulled out my phone and texted my brother, "Need those dissolution papers now." Weeks earlier, after my fiancé started getting weird about business decisions, I'd asked him to draft documents, just in case. He thought I was being paranoid. Sometimes paranoia is just pattern recognition. About 20 minutes later, my brother walked in with a folder. My fiancée was giving a speech near the front. She was thanking everyone, talking about vision and community and how hard she worked to make her dream real. The boyfriend was standing next to her, smiling like he'd earned something. I waited for her to finish. Then I said, "Can I say something?" She looked surprised, but she nodded. "Of course, babe." I stepped forward and kept my voice calm. "I just want to clarify something for everyone here. This business was funded entirely by my retirement savings. The LLC documents show I own 70% as the managing member. She owns 30%. The room went quiet. I looked at her and said, "Also, I'm not your babe anymore. I watched you kiss your co-founder about 15 minutes ago." Her face went pale. His face went red. Then I opened the folder and said, "As managing member, I'm exercising my right to dissolve this partnership effective immediately." I handed her the papers. "You'll receive your 30% share of any remaining assets after debts are settled. The lease is in the LLC's name. I'll be terminating it. You have 30 days to remove personal items." She started sputtering, trying to speak through shock. "You can't. This is my dream," I said. "It was your dream funded by my money while you were sleeping with him. We're done." Then I turned to the crowd. "Sorry, everyone. The boutique is canceled. There's champagne, though, so enjoy what's already opened." And I walked out. No shouting, no scene, just a clean exit. Here's the truth people do not want to admit. Sometimes the strongest move is the quiet one. My phone started blowing up right away. I didn't answer. I drove to my brother's office and we spent hours going through documents, receipts, and every transaction we had. We pulled bank records, invoices, vendor emails. We built a file. That night she came to my condo. I owned it before we met. Her name was never on it. While I was at my brother's office, I packed her things. I changed the locks. She pounded on the door, yelling that I was ruining her life, that I was stealing her business, that I could not just take it away. I spoke through the door. "The LLC agreement says I can dissolve it with a majority vote. I have 70%. You have 30%. This is over." She screamed, "This is illegal. I'll sue you." I said, "Feel free. My attorney is excellent, and he's been documenting everything, including the $130,000 I invested and the $0 you contributed." She finally left. For 2 days it was quiet. Then the letters started. A few days later, I got an email from her attorney. It wasn't a great attorney. It was the kind of office that promises aggressive representation in bold letters. The letter demanded full ownership of the boutique transferred to her. It demanded $200,000 for emotional distress and reputational harm. It demanded another $50,000 for lost income potential. It demanded a public apology. My brother laughed out loud when he read it. We responded with a simple no, and we included proof of the LLC structure, my investment, and the dissolution rights she signed. A week later, her lawyer came back with a new demand. Now she wanted $75,000 to walk away quietly. That's when my brother said, "Okay, let's dig." We did a deep dive into the boutique finances, not just the big expenses, but the small ones too, and we found the real story. For the last 4 months, she'd been paying her co-founder boyfriend $3,000 a month as a consultant, $12,000 total, my money. She'd purchased $8,000 worth of merchandise from a vendor owned by the boyfriend's family. The items were fine, but she could have gotten similar inventory for around $5,000 from other suppliers. That's a $3,000 difference. She upgraded store fixtures at the last minute, swapping out the modest shelving I approved for designer pieces. That was another $6,000 difference. All roads led to him, and all the money led away from the business. Total amount funneled through boyfriend-related choices was about $26,000. This is the part where people like to say, it was just a mistake. No, it was a system. We packaged the evidence and sent it to her attorney with a short message. Your client has been systematically defrauding the business. We are considering criminal charges for fraud and embezzlement. She should reconsider her demands. Her attorney dropped her within 24 hours. Then she tried to create pressure another way. The lease was a 1-year commitment. I had paid 3 months upfront, $13,500. The lease allowed early termination with 60 days notice and forfeiture of 1 month's rent. I gave notice. I forfeited $4,500. Done. She tried to convince the landlord to transfer the lease to her. The landlord called me because I was the one who signed. I told him if she qualifies on her own, that's between you and her. The LLC is not responsible. She didn't qualify, no credit strength, no business history, no income proof. Landlord said no. She then showed up at my office. Security called me and said, she's in the lobby demanding to see you. I said, tell her I only communicate through attorneys. If she won't leave, call the police. She left, but not before screaming in the lobby about how I was stealing her business. My coworkers heard it all. Embarrassing for her, not me. Then came the inventory mess. The boutique had around $65,000 worth of inventory at retail value. Clothes, shoes, accessories. All purchased with my money under the LLC. Per the agreement, the assets would be liquidated and distributed by ownership percentage. 70% me, 30% her. I hired a liquidation company. They estimated they could sell it for around $45,000. That meant my share would be $31,500. Her share would be $13,500. She lost her mind. She called from different numbers because I blocked hers. You're selling my merchandise. That's theft, I said. It's LLC merchandise being liquidated under the agreement you signed. You'll get your 30%, she said. Those were my choices, my vision. You can't sell them. I said, it's already happening. She tried to break into the boutique that weekend. The landlord's security cameras caught her at the back door. Police were called. She was cited for attempted breaking and entering. She blamed me for calling the cops. I didn't call anyone. Security did their job. Meanwhile, the boyfriend decided he was a business expert. He started calling vendors, telling them he was taking over operations and they should work with him directly. 3 vendors contacted me confused. I told them the truth. The LLC was dissolved. No new entity existed. Any dealings with him were at their own risk. He even tried to poach the boutique's social media following. He made a new account and messaged her followers saying the store was reopening under new management. My brother sent a cease and desist. The account disappeared within hours. A couple weeks later, I sat down and did the math. Initial cash investment from my 401k, $130,000. Additional expenses like rent, utilities, insurance, and other costs, about $35,000. Total spent, about $165,000. After liquidation, my recovered amount was nowhere near what we hoped. Resale is brutal. My net loss was well over 6 figures. People think the main pain in a story like this is heartbreak. But there's a special kind of anger when betrayal also comes with invoices. She started a smear campaign. She told people I was financially abusive because I cut off her access to our money. Her friends messaged me asking why I was being cruel. I sent 3 of them the LLC documents and proof of the affair and the consulting payments to the boyfriend. They stopped calling. Her mom showed up at my condo at 10 p.m. and told me I needed to give her another chance. I said, she didn't make a mistake, she made a pattern. Her mom called me heartless. I closed the door. After that, I did what my therapist later called healthy boundaries and what I called basic survival. I blocked her on everything. I changed my number. I switched gyms. I removed mutual friends who tried to guilt me. I kept a full folder of evidence, digital and physical. Because when someone feels entitled to your money, they don't stop when you say no. They stop when the wall is made of paperwork. 6 weeks after opening day, there was another round of chaos. The liquidation company sold about $38,000 worth of merchandise, even lower than expected, because some items were already going out of style. Fast fashion moves fast, and resale moves slow. My 70% share came out to $26,600. Her 30% came out to $11,400. I received my share and sent her attorney a check for $11,400. Yes, she had a new attorney again. Then she claimed I owed her $50,000 for sweat equity, because she worked hard. Her attorney actually argued it. My brother responded, sweat equity would have been negotiated before the LLC was formed. She signed an agreement accepting 30% ownership. No additional compensation is owed. They threatened to sue for unjust enrichment. We countered with the embezzlement evidence, the $26,000 funneled through boyfriend-connected expenses. They went quiet again. Then she and the boyfriend tried to restart the boutique on their own. They contacted vendors and claimed they were opening a new store. 3 vendors extended them credit, about $35,000 total in merchandise. They got a smaller space with month-to-month rent. It lasted 5 weeks. Turns out 2 people plus clothes plus Instagram is not a business plan. They defaulted on vendor payments within 30 days. Collections started. One vendor sued. She called me from another number and said, "This is your fault. You ruined my reputation." I said, "I dissolved a failing business you were defrauding. Your current failures are yours." She said, "If you had just given me the boutique, none of this would have happened." I said, "If I gave you the boutique, you'd still be stealing from it, just faster." She hung up. Then she tried another angle. We had wedding deposits. Venue, catering, photographer, DJ, total around $10,800, all paid on my card. Because she was saving for the business, I canceled everything. Some vendors refunded part, some didn't. I lost about $5,000 total. Her response was unreal. She told me I should let her keep the date and vendors so she could marry the boyfriend. That was the moment where I realized this wasn't just selfishness. This was a complete disconnect from reality. When the vendor lawsuits hit, her smear campaign started again. She told people I sabotaged her new business by poisoning vendors. A few people asked me about it. I told them the truth. She failed because she didn't pay her bills. That's not sabotage, that's consequences. Then something happened that actually helped me. One of her friends, someone I liked and respected, asked to meet for coffee. I agreed. She came with screenshots. Real text from my ex months earlier. Messages where she called me stupid with money. Easy to manipulate. She talked about dumping me after the boutique took off. She said a prenup idea scared her and she was glad I was too in love to ask for one. This was from before the affair even started, so the affair wasn't the beginning. It was just the next step. I thanked her. I added the screenshots to my file. 4 months after opening day, the legal story finally reached a clean end. Her vendor lawsuits went to court. She didn't show up to 2 of the 3 hearings. Default judgments were entered. One vendor, $14,500. Second, $12,000. Third, $8,500. Total, $35,000. Those judgments will follow her for years. Wage garnishment will start when she gets a job. Her attorney tried one last move. They filed a motion claiming the LLC dissolution was procedurally improper and should be reversed. My brother responded with a stack of documentation showing every step was legal and by the book. The judge denied the motion quickly. That was the end of the court fight. Then I learned something new about the boyfriend. Turns out he wasn't just cheating with my ex. He was running the same scam on other women. After the vendor lawsuits made local business news, 2 other women came forward. They said he had helped them start businesses, positioned himself as a consultant, got paid, and had affairs with them too. One of them is pressing fraud charges. He's under investigation. My ex tried to frame herself as a victim of him and of me. She still took zero responsibility for what she did with my money and my trust. I did my final accounting. Total put into the boutique, including expenses, about $165,000. Total recovered, about $37,400. Net loss, about $127,600. And here's the part that still makes my stomach turn. My financial advisor ran the numbers. If that money stayed in my 401k and grew at around 7% a year, it could have been roughly $720,000 by age 65. So the real cost wasn't just what I lost today. It was what I lost in my future. But I keep coming back to one hard truth. If I had married her, she would have taken more. She would have taken time, sanity, and probably a lot more money in a divorce. I found out who she was before I signed those papers. That is not a win, but it is a smaller disaster than it could have been. Last I heard, she's working in a department store again, making around $38,000 a year, living with her mother. Her credit is wrecked. Her reputation in the local business community is damaged. Some people believe her victim story, most don't. I'm 38 now. My 401k has about $800 in it. I'm rebuilding from scratch. My company increased my 401k match for the next 5 years to help me catch up, and I'm maxing it out. I bought a used car with cash, no debt. I started a small side consulting gig that brings in about $1,500 a month. Dating again feels weird. I'm cautious, maybe too cautious. But I'm also honest now. I tell people I got burned and I'm rebuilding. Some respect it. Some walk away. That's fine. My social circle is smaller, but it's better. Anyone who tried to guilt me into being nice to a person who was stealing from me is gone. I'm not bitter, I'm just careful. I'm still working on balance. Before I end, I'll say the quiet part out loud. Contracts are not unromantic, they are reality. And reality matters when money is involved. Lesson 1, if you fund a dream, make sure the paperwork protects you. Love is not a contract. Lesson 2, when someone starts hiding basic information in a partnership, that is not stress. That is a warning. Lesson 3, if a person calls someone a co-founder behind your back, they are testing how much you will tolerate. Lesson 4, document everything. Not because you want war, but because you may need proof. Lesson 5, protecting yourself is not cruelty. It is a boundary. Lesson 6, trust your gut. If something feels off, it usually is. So what would you have done if you walked into that grand opening and heard the word co-founder for the first time in front of a crowd? Would you have stayed quiet to avoid a scene, or would you have ended it on the spot like he did? And if you were in his place, would you ever risk your savings for someone else's dream again, or would you draw a hard line from day one?